Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Saturday, March 23rd. The madness is here. And you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host. I am the final boss. Remember that. Jeremy Pierce, welcome, one and all. You know you can check me out on the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. Don't forget to check out the website. Still working the kinks out, but it is live. And on today's show, well, the Ballad of Mercedes Mone. We're going to take a look at the career up until now of Mercedes Mone, formerly known as Sasha Banks, the ups, the downs, what went right, what went wrong. We're just going to have a good time, but for now, you know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. You know what this list is all about. We did it with Bayley, we're doing it with Mercedes Mone, and these are the best matches of Mercedes Mone's, Sasha Banks' career so far. Number 5, WrestleMania 37 versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. These two women main evented night one. These two women stole the show on night one. This was the first time that two black women main evented a WrestleMania, and there's really not much to be said. This was what started Bianca Belair on her rise to the top, and there's no better dance partner than having Mercedes Mone, Sasha Banks, who is one of the best in the world in the ring. These two women put on a fantastic show, put on a fantastic match. The story up until that point wasn't so great, but the match overall was just really good. Number 4, Hell in a Cell 2020 versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This took place during the pandemic, and there were a few MVPs of the pandemic. There was the New Day, there was Asuka, there was Bayley and Sasha Banks, because these two women were absolutely killing it. They know each other so well, and it's no surprise that Bayley is on this list, and she'll be on this list again and again. These two women were finally having their falling out with all the teases and all the turns leading up to this match, and it was absolutely fantastic. If you go back and look at that card, there was nothing that came close to what these two women did. Number 3, NXT TakeOver Unstoppable versus Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Championship. A very underrated match, and some may point to Sasha versus Charlotte, but no. Sasha versus Becky was the quiet storm that, in my opinion, truly elevated the 4 Horsewomen, because these two women started something super special, and it just grew and grew, and this was such a fantastic match that really caught everybody's surprise. So we saw and we knew what Mercedes Sasha Banks was capable of, but this match really helped us truly get a feel and grasp of Becky Lynch. Number 2, NXT TakeOver Respect versus Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship in a 30-minute Iron Man match. This was the start of, in my opinion, the true women's revolution at the WWE. Paige got it going, Natalia, and they showed you what women can be and can do. But these two women, Sasha Banks and Bayley, absolutely just really put women's wrestling on the map in the WWE. It was like, yo, this is what we're capable of. And it's great that they had someone like Triple H who believed in them. This was the feud of NXT when it comes to the women's division. Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Bayley won here, captivating that rise of the hugger. And the number 1, of course, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn versus Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship. This just so good. Just so good. This tete-a-tete of Sasha Banks not being able to defeat Bayley. She had lost the match of respect, with Bayley winning in the Iron Man match, and then Bayley retaining Bayley won at Brooklyn, and then Bayley retained in the Iron Man match. There was just something special that these two women had, and this match showed it. It was everything you dreamed of, and it's very, very hard, in my opinion, for WWE to get to this point again. Bayley and Sasha Banks are going to be forever entwined, and it started here in NXT. We'll be right back. Bayley, the hugger, the role model. She is someone, in my opinion, who is very much underappreciated in the WWE. She has constantly been there time and again to help put someone over, to put on a banger of a match. And it's crazy to think that she actually has multiple wins at WrestleMania, but they don't seem important. That can change. Bayley is going against one of the best in the world. That's not to say Bayley isn't one of the best in the world, because she is. But Io Sky is just, in the steps of Triple H, she's just that damn good. And she's the current SmackDown Women's Champion. I'm sorry, she's the current WWE Women's Champion. Her and Bayley, given the right time, given space, letting them breathe, can put on an awesome show. Bayley's story is so interesting right now, because she was a notorious heel, and now she's a face who's getting what she deserves. So it's like, do you cheer for her? Do you hate her? But the time is going to come when Bayley is going to win that championship, and I am all here for it. The question is, what's going to happen afterwards? Will she be allowed time to breathe, to defend, to become great? I am looking forward to this match, and I hope you are too. Mercedes Mone, Sasha Banks, the legit boss, the CEO. Where do we begin with this unbelievable talent? Today we are telling the story of Mercedes Mone, the Ballad of Mercedes Mone. She is someone who is passionate about this business, who loves this business. She's the blueprint, the boss, the CEO. She's everything. And now she has made her return to professional wrestling. So we start with her early career. She started out on the indies, wrestling in Chaotic Championship Wrestling, facing the likes of, one, Alicia Edwards, as they are both from Boston. And Mercedes, who's going by the name Mercedes KV, loves professional wrestling. She tells you time and again, when someone loves their job, cares about their job, there is nothing better. And she tells you who her influence is. So none other than my guy, the late, great Eddie Guerrero. He is her favorite wrestler. He is her inspiration. She was at his memorial episode on Raw. There are only a few times where, you're gonna cry in life over a death of someone you've never met, you've never known, and that was Eddie Guerrero. For me, for her, for a lot of people. So she gets hired by the WWE, and she makes her start in NXT, the black and the gold. She went to a tryout camp, got signed, and it all started from there. She started, building that character work, building that in-ring work, starting in a feud with Audrey Marie, who none of us remember. And then came Paige. She teamed with Paige to take on the team of Audrey Marie and Summer Rae. They were the BFFs. And then after that, she debuted the Boss gimmick. And that's where everything took off. Banks and Summer Rae were a tag team. They were the beautiful, fierce females. And they were really running roughshod over the NXT women's roster. But we started seeing the growth as she progressed, her and Summer and Paige and Charlotte and Bayley. And one of the smartest moves that you can really give someone, Triple H sent Natalya down to NXT to help work with these women. And at that time, there was no better woman on that roster when it came to the in-ring skill, the ability, the teaching, the craft, than Natalya. People forget just how important Natalya was to the early growth and development of that women's roster. Give Natalya her flowers. So we get the Boss character, and she, Charlotte, and I want to say Alexa Bliss were a part of Triple H's WrestleMania 30 entrance. And then we got the vacant NXT Women's Championship tournament, and it was money from there. She defeated Bayley in the first round, but lost to Natalya in the semis. Natalya will go on to lose to Paige. I believe lost to Paige in the finals. And then came the 4 Horsewomen. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Bayley were essentially the cornerstone of women's wrestling in NXT. When they started to grow, the BFFs disbanded in a backstage segment. And these women were everything. 4 unique individuals who were, yes, finding their place, finding their rhythm, but we saw something special there. Bayley and Sasha were having this feud to determine the number of contenders. So we had a number of contenders match, which Sasha lost to Bayley. Then we had NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. And at that event, we had just things happening. The main event was a Fatal 4-Way, but the previous match was Charlotte defending the NXT Women's Championship against Bayley. And Sasha attacked Bayley after the match, and Charlotte stopped her. There was a time when Charlotte was actually cheered. Becky then turned on Bayley, aligning herself with Sasha. And then Sasha defeated Bayley in a singles match, prompting an NXT championship match between Sasha and Bayley at our Evolution. Sasha lost. She then got a rematch on NXT and lost again. She then appeared on the main roster on main event, losing to Charlotte. So we knew what was really going down here. We've seen it time and again in NXT. We've seen it on the main roster. They've always positioned Charlotte ahead of Sasha. And I get why. But we'll dive into that just a little bit later. Sasha could not beat Charlotte, whether it was by pinfall, whether it was by disqualification. It just wasn't happening. Finally, at NXT TakeOver Rival, she defeated Charlotte in a fatal 4-way that also involved Bayley and Becky, the 4 Horsewomen. Then, the greatness came. Sasha retained the championship twice against Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, and Becky Lynch. And while this was going on, Bayley, the hugger, was growing in confidence. She was growing in momentum. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn came, where Sasha lost the belt to Bayley. Then it came TakeOver Respect in the 30-woman Iron Man match, and Bayley retained. I have said this time and again, and I stand by this. You will not find a more important match in the WWE in the last 10, 15 years than that TakeOver Respect match, and even their Brooklyn match. These two women were in a word, phenomenal. There was nothing you could do. There was nothing that could stop them. They were on another level. And Sasha Banks and Bayley will forever be intertwined with each other. And it all goes back to these two matches. Just beauty on another level. Just how I believe Lita and Trish are intertwined with each other. Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler are intertwined with each other. Bayley and Sasha Banks will forever be intertwined with each other. And it goes back to these two matches. Sasha, Becky, and Bayley were eventually called up to the main roster. And this is where WWE wants to say they created the women's revolution in professional wrestling. No, that's TNA. And there was this, they put everybody in teams, right? So we had Becky and Charlotte aligned with Paige. We had the Bellas with Alicia Fox, and we had Sasha aligned with Naomi and Tamina. And those two are two of Sasha's, Mercedes, two best friends to this day. And we got triple threat matches, we got one-on-one matches, and it was just growing and growing and growing. And it was like we finally gave a damn about women's wrestling on the main roster, because you couldn't let NXT overshadow you. You just couldn't. And then came a time where it was just Charlotte and Sasha Banks. They were, for all intents and purposes, the main women of Monday Night Raw. A new women's championship was brought on at WrestleMania with Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha fighting for the belt. Charlotte won. And then it was all about Charlotte and Sasha. And they kept trading the championship back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If we go look at the history of that championship, Charlotte and Sasha would trade the belts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. They traded that belt between April 2016 and December 2016. That's really, really crazy to think of, that they switched. They kept going back and forth with that belt, and the reigns weren't even long. So when Charlotte won the belt, she held it for 113 days. Sasha won it, and the story with Sasha was being told was she could win the championship, she couldn't defend the championship. Sasha's reign lasted 27 days. Then Charlotte beat her 43 days. Then Sasha beat her 27 days. Then Charlotte beat her 29 days. Then Sasha beat her 20 days. And then Charlotte beat her 57 days. And then finally Bayley cashed in Money in the Bank. Well, no, Bayley won on Raw. I'm thinking about the second time. So they always positioned Charlotte ahead of Sasha. And I get it. I understand why she's Charlotte Flair. But you could see on the surface that Sasha Banks just had everything more than Charlotte. She was just better, not in the sense of in the ring standpoint, because I think there's a slight edge when it comes. I think Charlotte is slightly better than Sasha when it comes to the ring, but when it comes to micro character work, Sasha was just better. And we were telling this story. Sasha could win but not defend. So let's jump forward to something I think really, really, really helped elevate Sasha Banks. The Boss and Her connection. Her and Bayley went from rivals to friends because Charlotte had Dana Brooke as her partner and Sasha needed a partner. She called up Bayley. I'll never forget the pop. I'll never forget that smile on Sasha's face. And then Bayley went back down to NXT. But then she came up, and her and Sasha teamed up to become the Boss and the Hug connection and competed in the first ever women's tag team elimination chamber match to win the new WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. They had been teaming for a while, and they were just good. The only other team that could really compete with them were the Iconics and the Riot Squad, because those were actual teams. So Sasha and Bayley win the tag team titles elimination chamber, and then they lose them at WrestleMania to the Iconics in a fatal 4-way match. That's fine. That's fine. Then she took time off. And you gotta go and look. She was getting frustrated with the company, and I understand why. The constant losing to Charlotte, the promise of her and Bayley being dominant tag team champions to make those titles feel important. She even quit the company and they wouldn't release her. There was appearances canceled and she was given time off. While this was going on, the women's roster was continuing and prospering to an extent. And she returned. And so began the feud with Bayley. So the pandemic happens, and we need MVPs. We need true blood. We need people to help ease this burden. And Sasha and Bayley were two of the MVPs. They reformed their team with Bayley having this just dominant reign as SmackDown Women's Champion. And then they became tag team champions, defeating Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And then while this was going on, Sasha would feud with Asuka, and she won the Raw Women's Championship. So now Sasha and Bayley have all the gold, and it's beautiful. But while this is going on, you can see someone was going to turn on someone. We didn't know who. We could guess, we could speculate. but it was going to happen. But these two women were holding their own, making us feel all warm and fuzzy in our tum-tums. Thank you, Simon Miller. And finally, the turn happened with Bayley turning on Sasha. And then these two fought in a Hell in a Cell match. Hell in a Cell 2020. And an amazing, beautiful Hell in a Cell match. Sasha won, and she became the third women's Grand Slam champion and the fourth Triple Crown champion. The Triple Crown champions when it comes to the women before her were Bayley, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka. And then after that, she's the third Grand Slam champion before her, Bayley and Asuka. And it was magic. But then there was more. There was another star rising. Bayley was putting on great work. Sasha was putting on great work. But here comes Bianca Belair. Long story short, Bianca defeats Sasha at WrestleMania, win the SmackDown Women's Championship in the main event. This was amazing. So what was next for Sasha? Teaming with Naomi. Sasha got an injury, took some time off, came back, and her and Naomi became the Boss and the Glow. They were a really, really good tag team. They won the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. You can see the passion, you know the love that Sasha has for this business. May 13th episode of SmackDown will be Sasha and Naomi's final televised appearance, because on May 16th on Raw, they walked out of the company due to creative dispute with his command. What went down? They wanted to have the championships, the tag team championships, on the back burner, while Sasha and Naomi were fed to the respective Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions, who I think were Bianca on SmackDown, I think Ronda on Raw. And then not only that, Sasha and Naomi were both going to lose. To Sasha and Naomi, that was unacceptable. And I agree with them. WWE then ran them down in an official statement. Sasha and Naomi walked out and left the championships on John Laurinaitis' desk. And we know he's a scumbag. Main event had to be reworked, and Sasha and Naomi were suspended indefinitely, and then they were released. Find new challengers for Ronda and Bianca, and let Sasha and Naomi defend the championships that they wanted, that they worked so hard for. But no, you wanted to feed them, which in essence would devalue the tag team championships, and that can't be. Stand up to your bosses for what you believe in. Stand up for what is right. Stand up to people who are bullies and who are absolute trash and garbage, like John Laurinaitis, like Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So these two women leave, take some time off, and they prosper. Naomi goes to TNA, becomes the Knockouts champion, and has just a great reign and just putting on some of the best work of her career. Sasha leaves, and she makes her debut at Wrestle Kingdom 17, New Japan Pro Wrestling, using the name Mercedes Mone, and she attacked the, at that time, IWGP Women's Champion Kairi, and then now she had joined both New Japan and Stardom. This led to a title match between Sasha and Kairi at Battle in the Valley, where Sasha Monet had won the championship. At her first title defense, she defeated Azumi and Hazuki in 3 match, and it was just great. Mayu Iwatani, one of the best in the world, along with Kairi Sane. Mayu Iwatani challenged her for the championship. Mayu won. That was fine, because New Japan created the Strong Women's Championship, and if you don't know about New Japan Strong, that's like their American promotion. And the New Japan Strong Women's Championship was created literally for Mercedes Mone. But in the finals of that tournament, she got injured, and Monet lost, and Willow Nightingale won. And it sucks, because I really wanted to see the work that Mercedes was going to do in New Japan. So she takes time off. She has to heal. She has to get better. And then Tony Khan announces big business. It's one of his TV specials that AEW produces, like Fight for the Fallen, Fighter Fest, St. Patrick's Slam, all of that. Winter is Coming. And it's in Boston. That's 2 S's. So we know what's coming. Mercedes had actually showed up at All In. She was shown on camera. So the speculation began. We get the big business, and out comes the CEO. We're in Boston, TD Garden, Mercedes' hometown, and she is over like Rover. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. This will be a changing point for Tony Khan. We've heard the criticisms. We know the criticisms about Tony Khan in the women's division. And I've said that if you're going to sign a star like Mercedes Mone, if you were going to go out of your way to try to sign Julia, you have to do better. You can't sign her and do the whole one women's match on Dynamite. Women were doing well on Collision. They were doing well on Rampage, but you got to do better for your main show. Mercedes comes out, cuts the usual promo, and has interactions with a couple women. 2 of them very important, because these 2 women were in the main event of Big Business. It was Riho, who she respects, and Willow Nightingale, the woman that defeated her for the championship. So, long story short, she saves Willow from a beatdown from Julia Hart and Sky Blue. And then the following week, Julia Hart and Sky Blue tries to get on Mercedes. Willow and Chris make the save. But we know this isn't over. She's presented as a big star, and word on the street is she is the highest paid women's wrestler on the planet. Yes. Yes. She has to be treated like the star she is, that she should have been in the WWE. I couldn't really take her playing second fiddle to Charlotte Flair time and again. Mercedes is a character on The Mandalorian, one of the biggest TV shows on the planet. She's got like 8 action figures of this one character. And yes, they make a lot of action figures of a lot of characters, but she's important. She's a Mandalorian. It's easier for Mercedes to break into Hollywood than it is for Charlotte. Yes, Mercedes is a fantastic talent. Her promos could use a little bit more work, but the same could be said for Charlotte. Charlotte's promos definitely need work. I could not get over them having Sasha Banks play second fiddle to Charlotte Flair every single time. It just didn't work. And now the CEO is all elites. And if things play out right, this is going to be fantastic, because she also gets to keep working with New Japan and Stardom. I think that's a big reason why she signed with AEW. Can't wait for her first match. Mercedes Mone is just different. There are a lot of fantastic women's wrestlers in the game. There aren't that many Mercedes Mones, Becky Lynch's, Rhea Ripley's. It's time that we get on this train and see her for what we have. We have a generational talent in front of us. And remember, this is a business where you're only as good as you are booked, so let's see her booking. All In is coming up this year. I can probably figure out the match that she's going to be in. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That's our show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. What we got going on next week? We got part 2 of our list of the best women's WrestleMania matches since WrestleMania 30. We've got a Flashback Friday. We've got building the Ring of Honor roster next week, because I will be at Super Card of Honor, which is in 2 weeks. So I think we could talk about the Ring of Honor roster. Let's break it down, because we also have the finals of the Women's TV Championship tournament coming along. Also, that's the reason why I love AEW. They have a mid-card championship for their women's rosters, both AEW and Ring of Honor. WWE does not have that. The High Res Wrestling Recap every Sunday. We got wrestling ready content. We get back onto that. Don't forget to check out the socials. Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube. Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram. And of course, the 215 on Twitter. Check out the site. Check out the Patreon. And as always, Bayley, Isla Dawn, and a J, Willow Nightingale, Gigi Dolan, and Chris Statlander. Holla at your boy. Peace.